Hey guys, welcome to another video. So today I believe is day 25 of the yoga challenge. So we're gonna have a sit down talk today. So I started filming this and then I realized I should put a disclaimer out. So I just wanted to say that I will be discussing a little bit of my own battle with eating disorder and recovery, and that sort of realm of things like body dysmorphia and stuff. So if this is uncomfortable topic for you, this would not be the video for you. If you're easily triggered or you're in the beginning stages of your recovery, this might not be the best video to watch. All right, so I just wanted to put a disclaimer out there before I get started. So how I wanted to tie this into this yoga challenge is this this amount of media that's around like having a specific body type for yoga. Now we're definitely getting better. I see so many of these new posts coming out like body positivity, and you can be any size and any shape and all of this, and I think it's absolutely wonderful. I encourage and embrace the beautiful different creatures that we all are on the yoga mat. And as a teacher, I definitely enjoy teaching everybody and anybody. So that being said, I did want to talk a little bit about my own struggle with body dysmorphia and the eating disorder that I have struggled with. So I'm in recovery. It'll be almost 2 years coming up into recovery, and still feel like that recovery is such a long process, and many people say, like, do you actually ever fully recover? Some people say, yeah, of course you can, and other people say, you know what, you always have those scars and those kinds of things in the back of your head that come to the surface sometimes. So when I was 16, I got my first yoga video. My mom bought me, and I fell in love with yoga, and I fell in love with watching yoga and watching how beautiful it looked, and just the grace and the movement and the breath, everything. I fell in love with it. And at that time, I was very newly into, I think, the beginning of my eating disorder. So as a child, we had a lot of feast or famine. So either we had a lot or we had none. So my whole life, it's kind of been like, you go without, and if you have some, it's like you fill up to the brim. And so that kind of was always in the back of my head, like this fear of lack, like I'm not going to have enough. And then we moved into being 13, and there were some shifts in my life, some things that had happened, and my life just kind of started to crumble a little bit. I started to get a lot of stomach problems, a lot of stomach pains, went to a lot of doctors, tried many different diets, and that's kind of where it really started to manifest and grow, was not being able to eat certain foods because of how much discomfort I was in. And and so this had kind of carried on it's carried on, I'm 35 now, so it's carried on for a very long time. And it was really hard because I didn't really think much of it. I just kind of felt like, well, you know what, I'm sensitive to certain things, I'll just avoid them. Or, if I got really sick over eating something, I'd be like, well, that's just my stomach. And it didn't really click in my head that there was this growing issue. So later on, when I started going through my pregnancies, I was always I'm 5 feet tall, and I was always a really petite person. And I started to go through my pregnancies, and I realized that being such a petite person, I didn't have petite babies. I had massive babies. They were 8 pounds, 2 ounces, 8 pounds, 9 ounces. And I had gained so much weight. So my weight had gone up. And then after my first son, postpartum depression hit in, and I didn't lose all the weight. I kept a lot of the weight on. And then eventually I started to come out of that, and then I got pregnant again, and then the cycle continued. And then, of course, for the third time, right? So I had 3 kids. So my weight had been fluctuating up, down, up, down, up, down. And this is where the body dysmorphia really started to kick in, of this, like, how do I feel comfortable in my skin? Like, I don't recognize this person. I, was always this way my whole life. And now I look so different. My body composition had changed so much, so drastically in such a short period. It felt like such a short period of time. I had my babies about 3 years apart. So just kind of as I was starting to kind of get my body back and feel more comfortable again, then I got pregnant again. And I never realized how that started to play into my life, and it started to really take over. Now, not going into like a whole lot of detail, but I think with anybody, you hit kind of a breaking point. Like, it's almost like something's been stirring for a while, and then you have like a full-on break. And that's what I experienced a couple of years ago, was this final like straw that kind of broke the camel's back. And it was all of a sudden, it was like I'm not good enough for anything. And it was so difficult, and it affected my practice. So I had been upwards, I'm 5 feet tall, so I've been upwards of, I've lost 100 pounds over the last few years, and of course fluctuating in between. Going from 190 to 90 pounds really changes your body, and it really kind of messes with your head a little bit. And you know what I learned? I learned that it didn't matter if I was 90 pounds or 150 or 180. I wasn't happy. It didn't matter how much weight I lost. I wasn't happy. And it's because you have to love your body where it's at. You have to love the progress of where you're at. And this kind of ties into the yoga thing. Because we have this a lot of like, this talk around like you shouldn't, you don't have to be a size 2 to do yoga. You don't have to be a size 0 to do yoga. And on one hand, I completely agree with that. That we need body positivity for all sizes, including people who are size 0 and who are size 2. Because even if they look the part, they might be struggling to accept themselves on the mat. They might be struggling to accept their bodies just as much as anyone else. I have been on both ends of the spectrum, and I can say that my struggles when I was smaller were the same struggles. And it was until I started to peel back the layers and started to learn to love myself for more than my body, and learn to embrace my practice and be compassionate and loving with my yoga practice, that I started to release some of that criticism, right? Self-criticism and tearing myself down. So I feel like, even though I feel like we're really we're moving in a good direction of really being the voice for all body types, we have to remember that the people that are smaller are struggling just the same. They might look the part, but a lot of people don't understand that you can't just assume things. I hate when people assume things. You can't assume that somebody who looks a certain way is happy with their body, or that they don't struggle with an eating disorder, or they don't struggle with something. And this goes for all sizes. And like I said, I've been on both ends of the spectrum, so I feel like I can speak to both ends. So this is kind of what I wanted to bring the focus into, is this journey is an ongoing journey for me. It is not something that I feel like I've arrived at yet. I don't feel like I am there. But I feel like every day that I get on my mat and I'm a little bit more compassionate with myself, or, if I fall out of a posture, I kind of laugh about it. Or if I look at myself and I'm like, oh, I feel bloated today and I feel gross, but you know what? I love my body anyways. As I work through those layers, things get easier and easier, and I can relax into my practice. I can relax into my life and into this kind of experience. And I think it's so important. I guess the biggest thing that I want to drive home is, number one, don't compare yourself to other people. You know, even if you see somebody who is smaller or see somebody who looks different or looks the part, does not mean they're happy, does not mean that they are not struggling in their own way. That, you know what, it really doesn't matter what size you are. You can do yoga at any size. And I am going to post on my Instagram. If you follow me on Instagram or Facebook, you'll see the posts of all the different sizes I was and how I still embraced my practice, even if I didn't feel good in the process, like even if I didn't feel like in my own body, I still practiced, and I still did it from the time when I was heavier, and when I was smaller, and when I had babies in my belly, and after I had kids. So it's really, it's a growth, right? Our practice is a growth. We grow, we learn, and that's life too. And this body, and trying to work with it and understand it and connect to it is really challenging sometimes. So be compassionate with yourself. If you're having a bad body image day, to be okay with just being like, yeah, I just don't feel good. You know, like it doesn't have to, you don't have to allow it to absorb you down that kind of rabbit hole. And just love yourself where you're at. That's basically it. Just love yourself where you're at, whatever size you're at, wherever you're at on your journey, whether you're trying to lose weight or whether you're trying to gain weight, whether you're struggling with an eating disorder or whether you're struggling with body image issues. Love yourself where you're at is the most important message that I can give to you all. All right, so love yourself in your life, on your mat, and rejoice in your body. This body can do amazing things, and honestly, like, nobody's perfect. I mean, the more that you start to look at people, the more like everybody has their stretch marks and their lines and their wrinkles and their, you know, unstraight teeth or whatever else that that people have, and that's just what makes them who they are, right? So we are more than this human experience. So definitely connect to that kind of expansiveness outward. All right? Okay, enough of this. We will talk tomorrow for, I think, day 26. Oh, I'm losing track. All right. Have a wonderful day. If you like this video, like, subscribe. I'll be talking a lot more about recovery and sharing my different thoughts and how I've worked through it and all that good stuff, along with yoga and natural living and yada, yada, yada. So, so if you're interested in that, definitely follow me. And yeah, we will talk really soon. All right. Have a good one. Lots of love.